Hi, and Kevin Wright back again with another property finance tip. So, what's it about this week? How quickly should you be aiming to go full-time in property? So, if that's your aim, then stick around and watch, and we'll look at when you should actually do that. Okay, so going full-time in property is an aim for an awful lot of people. Not everyone, to be fair, because there are some people that actually pretty much like what they do. In fact, some people love what they do. And property is only ever going to be something they do part-time. Nothing wrong with that at all. But for a lot of other people who I guess to varying degrees have got an unfulfilling job, or maybe there's not enough week left once you've done the job to do the other things you want to do in life, then maybe there's a need or a desire to actually have more control. So I think it's partly it's varying degrees of dissatisfaction with the job that you do right now, and partly it's want to have more control of your time, to work when you want to work, more of that anyway. So that can be a big motivation. People talk about passive income. Well, you talk to any landlord of any experience and they'll tell you that there isn't really passive income, that you still have to do some work, although maybe you don't have to do as much work to earn your money. You're not actually swapping your time for money in the accepted sense that you are when you are employed and working for an employer. So if you're planning to make that switch, when should you do it? When is the right time to do it? I've been talking to people at property meetings over the years, and on Facebook groups and that sort of thing, and there's always this unseemly rush to go full-time in property, and sometimes people do it too soon. And from a brokering background, we've seen quite a number of people that have actually shot themselves in the foot by going full-time too early. So let's explain what I mean by that. So whether you're part-time or full-time in property, you're almost certainly going to need mortgages. So the critical point here is, what do mortgage lenders look for? Well, let's look at buy-to-let mortgage lenders. Now, they prefer you to be employed or self-employed in something that isn't to do with renting property, or the majority of them do anyway. So they want you to have an income that's not dependent on renting out property. So of course that is not being full-time in property, because if you're full-time in property, that's exactly what your income is. So clearly the major buy-to-let lenders and the mainstream buy-to-let lenders don't like full-time landlords. So they also want you to have an income level. Typically it's 25,000, not all of them, but and to get the best range of buy-to-let lenders, you need to be earning 25,000 a year, singly or jointly, and not from renting property. And they like you to have a few properties, but not too many. Well, how many is not too many? Well, it varies with lender to lender. So the more properties you own, perversely, the less popular you are with the standard buy-to-let lenders. Now, if that doesn't make sense, well, that's because mortgage lenders often live on a different logic plane to the rest of us. But what makes sense to them may not make sense to us. But hey, their money, their rules, right? So if full-time landlords can't get standard buy-to-let mortgages, that's a really good reason not to jump out of full-time employment, or even part-time employment if it pays you enough, too quickly. Because you could find that now you're full-time in property and you can wear that badge with pride. I'm a full-time property investor, which is a very worthwhile goal. I'm not knocking the goal, don't get me wrong on that, but jump too soon and you've cut off a big chunk of your potential mortgage lending opportunities. So it's important to get the timing quite right. So as you grow your portfolio and you get more and more properties, remember, you're going to get less and less attractive to standard buy-to-let lenders. But conversely, the lenders that weren't very attracted to you when you started out, which is commercial and specialist lenders, as you grow and you become a more substantial landlord, they get to like you more. So the whole thing turns around. You start off being attractive to buy-to-let lenders and unattractive to commercial lenders, and you end up being attractive to commercial lenders and unattractive to buy-to-let lenders. So when is the best time to go full-time in property? Assuming you get the choice, of course, because if you get made redundant, the choice isn't yours. But assuming you get to pick the time, then the time to do it, I would suggest, is when you're starting to become unattractive to buy-to-let lenders because you're getting to be too big a landlord and they're not so keen on lending to you anyway. So when you don't need buy-to-let lenders and you can exist quite happily with commercial and specialist lenders, that's a great time to actually make that leap and go self-employed. So the real big watchword from what I'm talking to you about this week is, compelling though the concept and the notion may be, don't be in too big a rush to quit your job and become a full-time landlord. If you're in property for the long run, if you're in as a property career, then you've got years in which to enjoy being a full-time landlord. So just make the switch at a time when it's not counterproductive to you. That's the real message of this. So there we are. That's this week's tip. And hey, hang around a bit because I've got another couple of videos for you to look at. And also click that like button and leave a comment if you want. And hey, if you haven't subscribed, then click that button too. So I'll be back next week with another property finance tip, and have a great week.